Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Ask and it shall be given. It shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. Oh, just knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Oh, ask and it shall be given. It shall be given unto you. These blessings shall be mine. Oh, these blessings shall be mine. These blessings shall be mine. Oh, these blessings shall be mine. Shall be mine. Shall be mine, saith the Lord. Say, seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. Oh, just knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Oh, ask and it shall be given. It shall be given unto you. Say, seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. Oh, and all you do is knock. Shall be opened unto you. Open your mouth and ask, and it shall be given. It shall be given unto you. See, blessing shall be mine. Ooh, blessing shall be mine. Shall be mine. Saith the Lord. Sing it again, say, blessing shall. Oh, blessing shall be. Blessing shall be mine. Blessing shall be mine. Saith the Lord.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome again to the Midweek Wednesday night Bible class for the Southside Church of Christ here in Orlando, Florida, and beyond. We're so happy. We're so glad. We're elated that you've carved time out of your arduous schedule to be in assembly as we open God's book, the Bible, and we together study His perfect will, His perfect way, in an effort that we'll be more pleasing in His sight. Friendly reminder, you can watch Southside's worship services every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. And of course, our Wednesday night Bible class, like tonight, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. All of those will be broadcast on the Southside Facebook, Southside YouTube channel, Southside website, sscoc.org, and of course the Southside app. And we're just asking you to tell a family member, tell a friend, tell a co-worker, send them the link, something you've heard or seen that you find to be interesting. Share it in an effort that we may spread the gospel, even in this time of quarantine, in an effort to expand the borders of the kingdom of God. Southside will continue to pray and continue to rally around the Skinner family. There's an old axiom in this business of ministry and pastoring that says that time does not heal all wounds, but wounds heal in time. Time does not heal all wounds, but all wounds do heal in time. So the further and more time they have, the better off they will become, and some of the tears will turn to joyful memories. Pray for them, not only the Skinner family. There are so many people that are suffering so many maladies, and whether it's COVID directly or indirectly, or whether it's finances or family or depression, bereavement, cancer, and other medical maladies. Let us rally around, pray for each other, love each other, give and forgive in an effort to please God. Beloved, we are enveloped and entrenched into this biblical study of the home and the family. We have been for weeks now. I was led by the Spirit to see what the Lord says about the home and the family. You know, the home and the church are synonymous in scriptures. As a matter of fact, as God deployed Jesus to build his glorious, indispensable church, the Church of Christ, he used the home and marriage as the blueprint from whence to build it. So if you study the home, de facto, you're studying the church. And when you study the church, de facto, you're studying the home. And so we started out weeks ago in this biblical study of the home. We started out by investigating marriage, what God had to say about marriage. Oh, what an interesting study that was. And then that segued and catapulted us into the husband. Duties of the husbands. I arguably have never received as many text messages as I did when I did a study on the husband. And then gave the 10 commandments. I gave them on marriage. I gave the 10 commandments for husbands, men and women, brothers and sisters alike. And even from across the country, I got messages about the duties of the husband. Now, last week I did the duties of the wife. I didn't receive quite as many encouraging statements from the wives as I did from the men concerning the husband. But that's all right. That's okay. I'm going to preach God's word anyway. But I did receive some encouragement. I do appreciate it. Not that people were against it. I just didn't receive much teaching. I gave 10 commandments for wives. Well, tonight, after we studied marriage, then we studied the duties of the husband, then we studied the biblical duties of the wife. Let's look at the duties of parents. The biblical duties of parents. Everybody in the home has God-given responsibilities and obligations. The man, the woman, and now let's see what the parents have to their children. A brief reminder, when we looked at duties of the husband, there were 3 basic things, and we put everything under that umbrella. The first thing a husband needs to do is love his wife. Second thing the husband needed to do was respect his wife. Third thing a husband needed to do is support and provide for his wife. And there are a lot of things that fell under that and still do. And then last week we talked about wives, their duties and obligations. The first thing we talked about, the wife needs to do biblically, submit or obey her husband. Second thing she need to learn to do is love their husband. And the third thing she biblically obligated to do is manage the home. Well, tonight, let's get into this exhaustive study of the duties of parents. And we break them down into basically 3 fundamentals. In parenting, fathers need to fulfill their duties as Christian men. Secondly, mothers need to fulfill their duties as Christian women. And thirdly, both provide love and discipline equally. Okay? Now, a lot we're going to talk about, but there's 3 things that are our headlines. Parenting works when fathers fulfill their duties as Christian men. Parenting works, secondly, when mothers fulfill their duties as Christian women. And thirdly, parenting works when mother and father apply love and discipline equally to their children. Well, let's look at what a father ought to do when it comes to parenting. And you tag team. You work as a team, a couple when you're parenting. Children are very smart. They find the weak link in parenting. They find the little soft parent. That's me in my marriage. And they'll punk you out because they know they can play on your emotions. And then, but if one of you are weaker in some areas, the other makes up in that area. So I know we're not perfect parents or grandparents, but we found a pretty good niche, Pam and I, where I'm weak, she's strong. And where she may be weak, that's where I'm strong. So we make a formidable team in parenting. Okay? But the duties of the father, and that's point number 1, that when men or fathers perform their duties as Christian men, you provide, the first thing a father does, parenting a child, you provide life necessities to your children. You provide all of life's necessities to your children. Children don't ask to be here. You brought them here. I brought them here. I have more sympathy for children and grandchildren than I do for grown-ups. We make irrational decisions as grown-ups. We choose wrong mates. We choose wrong venue. We choose wrong directions and paths. But children have no say, absolutely no say in their arrival. We brought them here. Now, man, husband, father, brother, it's an unget-around fact. There's no discussion. You have to provide life necessities. In other words, you provide everything a child needs. You don't have to give them everything they want, but God knows you have to give them everything they need. And good men, I even say great men, not only provide everything a child needs in life, but when they are doing what you ask them to do, you try to provide most of what they want. You always reward a child for doing what you want. If you want more of something, you reward it. If you want less of something, you never reward it. So the first thing a husband duty as a parent now, we done left marriage and all that. We're talking about your duties as a parent is to provide the child's necessity. Man, husband, father, even if you're not married to the mother, I ain't letting you off, brother. You still got to provide your child's necessity. Well, you know, and in this silly, grown men worried if I provide for my child that the mother, I'm gonna buy a pizza for my child who I don't live with, but I'm concerned that the mother may eat a slice. Child, please, provide for the child. Give the child food, shelter, education, health care. These are life's necessities. Your job, man, husband, is provide necessities. The Bible says emphatically, parents provide for children. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 14, Paul writes to the church at Corinth and says, parents give care to the children. Children don't give care to the parents. That's in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 14. Write it down or read it in your leisure. You're obligated when you bring them here to care for them. Now, in the great circle of life, God is so wise and infinite in wisdom that you care for a child when the child is young, but when God allows you to get older and wiser and feeble and gray-headed and your step gets slower and your eyes get dim, that same child will take care of you in your old age as you took care of them in their infancy. So the first thing a man needs to do, beloved, provide life necessity. Give them what they need. I didn't say you have to give them everything they want, but you got to give the child everything they need. And the Bible teaches when a man or father fails to give the family or the children what they need, he has denied the faith. And Paul says to Timothy in 1 Timothy 5 and 8, he's denied the faith and he's worse than an infidel. That just means an infidel is a non-believer. Paul said a grown man with children and a family who won't provide life's necessities. Yeah, you don't have to buy them a Bentley or Rolls Royce. You don't have to buy them designer clothes. You don't have to buy them $250 tennis shoes. Those are luxuries. But shoes on their feet, that's not a luxury. A bed to sleep in, that's not a luxury. A roof over their head, that's not a luxury. Clothes on their back, that's not a luxury. Food on the table, it doesn't have to be filet mignon, but you got to put food on the table. When you fail to do so, brother, the Bible says in 1 Timothy 5 and 8, you denied the faith. Yeah, in other words, that's why you marry a Christian, girl. Yeah. And when you tell a heathen he denied the faith, he says, what faith? You have no rules or regulations to tie him up with. But for a Christian man, we're talking about a biblical study at home. When you don't provide for your children life's necessities, you deny the faith. You're worse than an infidel. Secondly, under that duties of a husband, a man needs to remember the Bible teaches not to provoke your children with wrath. Ephesians 6:4, Colossians 3:21. Both says something very similar. Both says this. You read it in your leisure. Ephesians 6:4, Colossians 3:21. Both say, fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but rather nurture them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord, lest ye discourage them. The reason why the Bible says don't provoke your wife to wrath, brother, or your children, because in the biblical model of the home, the husband had the authority. He's the only one who could be abusive because he had all the power, the authority. The Bible never says, wives, don't provoke your husband to wrath, or wives, don't harm or do irreparable, damnable things to your husband. She had no authority to do that. And the children in the home, the father is the top of the food chain, followed by the wife and then the children. So the Bible says, since you're in charge, brother, husband, man, father, you have the authority, so you're in a position to be abusive. Don't abuse your power. Don't provoke your children to wrath, lest ye discourage them. You know, some people are nitpickers. They constantly riding the kids. They constantly criticizing the child. They constantly finding fault with the child. They constantly fussing at the child. There's time for discipline, but most of the time it is an era of love for your child. You get more by love than by discipline. Some people rule by fear, but I learned my lessons from God. God provokes by love. He does not try to rule by fear. He just tells you the consequences of your actions. But he says, come unto me. I want a loving relationship. Some people, have you ever seen this with children? Everything about that child is the child to fear them. There's something to that, but the child only fears you when you're around. People don't fear you when you're not around. They just don't want to deal with all of your issues. And sometimes, because people have issues, they transfer that to the child. Okay? Their anger with their marriage, their anger with their job, their boss, their anger with their childhood, their anger is transferred to the child. Okay? And what the Bible teaches, fathers, don't provoke your children to wrath. You'll discourage them. Don't continue to find fault with the child. Don't fuss at them. Don't ride them like a Georgia mule. Let me tell you something. There's sometimes your child has done something they shouldn't have done. You know it and I know it. And they really deserve major discipline. You promised them that. But when you're wise, sometimes you know, even though they deserve it, you can look in their eyes and say, today I'm going to put my arm around them instead of disciplining them. Don't view yourself as a hammer and every problem as a nail. Okay? You got to have more in your toolbox than a hammer. If you only have a hammer in your spiritual toolbox, you'll go around hitting everything. But you need other tools to deal with other problems. So, provide the life necessities. Don't provoke your children to wrath. And then provide spiritual training for your child. I'm just talking to the fathers, and I'll be done here in a minute. We'll jump to you mothers. You train and discipline your child. That's again found in Ephesians 6:4. Train them up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. You train them by instructing them. There's a great passage, even in the Old Testament, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse number 6. I just want to read that one. It's so powerful. Deuteronomy 6, verse number 6 says, and these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart. Here's verse 7 of Deuteronomy 6. Thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. Talking about the words of God. Thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou layest down, and when thou risest up. The parent's responsibility is to teach a child, train a child, instruct them in the ways of the Lord. He says, when you go to bed, talk to the Lord about him. Talk to the child about the Lord. Rising up, walking on the way, sitting at the table. Our job is to remind them of the sovereignty, the goodness, and the love and mercy and salvation of the Lord. Well, again, we're talking about a biblical model. I know secular people are listening, and they don't believe in this. Go on with your bad self. But I'm talking about members of the body of Christ who have allegiance to the Bible. We are obligated to train our children. We provide everything for children except Christian education. They're getting secular education. They're getting tutoring. They're getting well-rounded. They play sports. They have the arts and the civics. What about their biblical education? And we as a church have provided a platform for your children to come and be trained in Bible and Scripture and spiritual things. And you won't even bring them because you see everything else is more important than a biblical education. You don't want them to get a biblical education at the exclusion of their secular education, but both ought to work in harmony and unison together. It's your job to train them and bring them to be trained. Fathers are commanded in Joshua 24 to provide spiritual leaders to their children. You remember, I love one of my favorite passages, Joshua 24:15. The Bible says, Joshua said, choose ye this day whom you will serve. God of our fathers on the other side of the flood. He said, or will you serve the God of the Amorites, in whose land we do dwell? But Joshua declared emphatically, he didn't take an opinion poll. He didn't take a vote in the house. He said, as for me and my house, this is what men ought to do with their wife and children. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So brothers, fathers, you provide life necessities. Fathers, if you don't do that, you're worse than an infidel. Fathers, you don't provoke your children to wrath. Don't discourage them. Don't beat them down. Don't find fault. Don't fuss, yell at the child all day, every day. You'll discourage the child. And then you provide spiritual training. That's your job and mine. Read the Bible, study the Bible, have biblical conversation. And then, of course, lastly, loving discipline. The Bible says, you read it on many occasions, the Bible says that we as parents ought to discipline our children. It says emphatically in Proverbs 22:6, you read it, that train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he shall not depart from it. The Bible says in Hebrews 12:6, that the Lord chastise those he loves. If you really love your child, you'll discipline them. You'll chastise them. You will not allow them to run amok unchastised. You won't let somebody you love be headed toward a bridge that's out, and don't try to stop them or arrest their behavior. Your love for your child includes discipline. You don't let a child do anything they want to do. Now, every child in every home is different. So the way you dealt with your child may not be the way somebody else needs to deal with theirs. Everybody finds out, and then they think that's the only way. You need to do that with your child. You need to do that with your child. I got some good advice for you. If you raise your own children, that's probably a full-time job. It's probably an overtime job. You ain't got time or energy to be criticizing nobody else. Okay? It just amazes me how people have answers for what other people ought to do with their children, and their own children on an asylum. Their own children running them up. I'm here to tell you, if you raise your own children and you take your time and energy and wisdom to do that, you probably got your quiver full. So the Bible says, you've read it again and again, that discipline includes sometimes corporal punishment. Proverbs 13:24, spare not the rod. If you do, you'll spoil the child. If you love the child, you will also discipline the child. Again, that depends on your child and your home and your rules. Some people need to put a lot of rod on their children. Some people don't need to put as much. That's an individual decision, and it goes by individual needs and individual home. But you ought not be afraid take the Board of Education and apply it to the seat of knowledge. I had a story years ago. I was preaching in Tallahassee, and lady came in. She telling me in my office about her teenage boy, and she telling me, I keep talking to that boy, he won't listen. I keep telling that boy, he won't listen. I keep yelling at him, he won't listen. I said, ma'am, you talking to the wrong end. I said, you talking up here, you need to be working down there. Sometimes you got to take the Board of Education and apply it to the seat of knowledge, and you'll get some results. Every child don't need that. Some child, if you scold them, or if you raise your voice, it hurts them to the heart. I had two children. I still got two children. Love them equally, same. My son, the kind, if he knew he disappointed you, he just cry, and he want to do better. Just talking to him, basically, will make him want to do better. My beautiful daughter, the apple of my eye, she wasn't wired that way, you know. You talk to her, she look at, that's all? That's it? So you had to go a little further. Children are different. You know that. I know that. So don't try to make one size fit all, cookie cutter. Some kids, when you need a discipline, don't be afraid to discipline. But don't just discipline. Well, they beat me, I'm going to beat you. You don't beat nobody because you got beat. You discipline a child when they need discipline. Preach, brother. Y'all quiet on me tonight. Now, let's jump to these women, the mothers. Those are advice and biblical principles for the husband or the father. Duties of mothers, first of all, of course, is to love the children. We talked about it briefly last week in Titus chapter 2 and verse number 4. You're the primary caregiver for a child. You're the first teacher of the child. Mothers have a special bond with parenting with a child. The child lives in your womb for 9 months. The child floats in embryonic fluid. The child has an umbilical cord attached to you before birth. Even when you are carrying a child, what you eat, the nourishment, the child is dependent upon you. When your emotions you have, even before birth, whatever anger, frustration, hurt, you transfer all of that to the child in your womb. If the child's in your womb, if you read to the child's more astute. If you tell stories and talk to the child can hear. So the mother has a unique place in parenting because you get a head start on us. You get to carry the child. You get the child and you get a special bond, even after birth, particularly if you breastfeed the child. Whatever you eat, when you breastfeed, you give it to the child. There's a bond. That's why fathers quit. Father's Day will never mean as much as Mother's Day, because children have a special bond with the mother. So mother, you love your child. You care for the child. You're the primary caregiver. Fathers, husband, you gotta help. Don't. And mothers, don't make your husband the bad guy. Okay, you give him all the love, and then when they need discipline, you only call the father to beat the child. No. We didn't do that, and I hope you don't do that. No, we there together. We love them the same, and when it's discipline, and when my wife can't get no headway, see, I don't do a lot of fuss. Never have. I don't have a relationship with the kids. When I put bass in my voice, they know it's bass. Now they love me, and I'm easy. I'm sorry, but don't get it twisted. Both of them, they knew that when Daddy put bass in his voice, he ain't gonna say that twice. And so I don't mind doing the heavy lifting, but I ain't gonna be the only one disciplining the child. So mothers, you're the primary giver of love. Nothing replaces in life a child looking into the eyes of their mother, okay, and the mother looking into the eyes of a child. Your primary job, love the child. Your job, Daddy, provide life necessities. That's why you better get a job, hold a job, get another job if you need to. You provide the necessities, mother, you provide the love. Okay, secondly, you need to manage the house. It's one of the things we talked about last week. You manage the house. You're responsible, mother, for the atmosphere in the home, the temperament in the home. If you're a fuss pot, if you're a meanie, if you're a broomhilda, if you're a wicked witch from the west, you'll transfer that to the husband and the child. Okay? You manage the home. That includes the atmosphere. Okay? And you manage the discipline. You know what the Bible says again, Proverbs 22:6. 22:6 says, train the child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he shall not depart. The Bible says in Proverbs 23:13, withhold not the correction for the child. Beat him. When you beat him, he won't die. I'm here to tell you, disciplining a child, you don't die from discipline, else I'll be dead, and a whole lot of y'all over 50 will be dead too. Notice what the Bible says, and I have to hurry here. Train a child. Training and teaching is two different things. Training is personal instruction. Teaching is literary. That means you provide information. Train is to show a child. Teaching is to tell a child. That's why the Bible says, train a child. Let them see in you what you want them to become. Mothers, you are primarily responsible for that. And the reason why the Bible said that, the husband was off working. So the child spent preponderance of the time. Now that's changed now. But the child spent most of the time with the mother. So that's why the Bible wants you to train them. Okay? And then not only you train and manage the home, but you also provide spiritual training as the husband. You also provide spiritual leadership or training, particularly when the male is lacking or absent. Timothy is the perfect example in the Bible of a mother or a grandmother who trained a young man when there's no record of a father. The Bible says that Timothy's mother was a Jew and his father was a Greek. That's in Acts 16:1. And that's why he wasn't circumcised in Acts 16:3, because his father was a Greek. If his father would have been a Jew, he would have been circumcised on the 8th day, as was the custom. But yet Timothy was a disciple, a pupil, a follower of Christ. That's according to Acts 16:2, primarily because he was positively influenced by his grandmother Eunice and his mother Lois. And that's found in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse number 5. You, mother, not only ought to love the child, that's that nurturing, affectionate, intimate part. Not only are you to manage the home and discipline and whip his butt or her butt when they need it, and provide that atmosphere that's conducive, the temperament that's conducive for love and discipline, but you too provide those nuggets of spiritual growth, even when there's no father there. You can bring them to Sunday school. You can bring them to church. You pray with that child at night. When they want to do something aggressive and it's wrong, you arrest that behavior. You drop nuggets. You don't have to Bible thump. Some people are over spiritual. The child ain't going to want to sit around and read the Bible. Show them God. Instead of trying to always tell them about God, show them some God. Okay? Now, so we talked briefly. My time's run out tonight. The duties of parents, fathers, first of all, fulfill your duties as a Christian man. Secondly, mothers, fulfill your duties as a Christian woman. We talked about some subsidiaries under that. Thirdly, love and discipline. Both of you do this. Love and discipline them equally. Don't love the child so much that you provide no discipline. And don't discipline the child so much you don't provide no love. Love them and discipline them equally. As I hasten tonight, let me give you some patterns for parents. I've been giving you the 10 commandments, Leonard commandments. I gave you 10 commandments for marriage. I gave you 10 commandments for husband. I gave you 10 commandments for wives. Tonight I give you 7 patterns for parents. Pattern 1, model a growing and personal faith for your child. If they don't see it, they won't catch it. In other words, you are the model for their personal faith and growth. If they don't see it in you, they won't catch the vision. Let them see in you what they ought to become. Pattern number 2, include faith in normal conversation. Just in table talk. Faith is okay. There's so many ways to teach people. You don't always have to quote scriptures to talk about faith, but always include faith in a normal conversation. Pattern 3, be well-rounded. Don't mentalize for faith. Don't make everything about faith. Be well-rounded as a parent. Child's interested in ballet, talk ballet. Child interested in sports, talk sports. Child interested in science and the arts and the civics. Don't make everything church. Don't bring them to church so much, and you'll beat the world. Some people raise their children in church, and when they leave home, they can't wait to go see what the world has to offer. So at the same time you're giving them God and Christ, let them experience life. Be well-rounded. That's point 3. Point 4, be authentic. Children that take phony. Be authentic in whatever you are and believe. Be authentic. Point 5, serve together. I mean work together, husband and wife. There's no distance when it comes to loving and disciplining a child between the husband and wife. Serve together. Point 6, pray for your children and with your children. Every day, I'm sure y'all do this because I know I do this. There's not a day in my life goes by I don't pray for my children and my grandchildren. And when you have children in your home, you not only pray for them, you pray with them. And then lastly, pattern number 7, learn and communicate in their language. Learn to communicate with your child in their language. You are the adult. You are versatile. You're diverse. They only know one way or two ways. You got to condescend down to their language. Talk in a manner and a language they understand. Y'all get it? Got it. It's been my distinct pleasure talking to you tonight about the duties of parents, all under the umbrella of the biblical study of the home. God is good and he's good all the time. I'm looking forward to seeing you this Sunday at 11 a.m. Southside Facebook, 11 a.m. Southside YouTube channel, 11 a.m. Southside website, and 11 a.m. Southside app. God bless you. God keep you. This is our prayer. Good night and be blessed.